What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Jessica and I talk about frugal living, fitness motivation, and minimalism. If those topics interest you, then I highly suggest you hit that subscribe button because I'm here for you every week-ish talking about those topics. I'm so excited about this video because I'm talking about my annual budget review. Budget Girl calls it her annual budget summit, I think. Mine's kind of like that, only it's a little bit different. I do it in two parts that I'm going to share with you guys, so let's get into it. So in this video, I might sound like I'm out of breath. I'm nearly 8 months pregnant, so there's that. So a little out of breath talking about this, but we'll get through it. So like I mentioned, I do this in two parts. The first part is I get a calendar just like this, and I keep it in my kitchen or wherever I like to budget. And what I do is I go through every month and I like to get the calendars that have the holidays on them. And what I do is I annotate birthdays that I don't want to forget, and I annotate when things I need to pay for come up throughout the year, like car tags and oil changes, things like that. I also annotate when Titan has a grooming appointment or when his annual vet checkup is. So just things throughout the year that's going to be happening every year. But when it comes time for me to budget for that month, it's going to be different for that month because of those things. So since those things are anticipated, I'll know they're coming in advance. I should not be pulling from my emergency fund for those items because I know they're coming. It's not an emergency. This year coming up, 2022, is going to be especially special because I'm going to be having a baby in late February, early March, and my sister is getting married in May. So there's many things moving and a lot of things to budget and plan for, in addition to the, regular day-to-day stuff and money goals. Here is a pro tip for the calendar for going through and annotating birthdays that you don't want to forget. So what I did is I just went to Facebook and I pulled up notifications, and you know how it tells you when someone's birthday is due? Well, if you open that, you can scroll through and see everyone's birthday for the whole year. So I just had that open on one side and I had my calendar on the other side, and I just annotated birthdays. Okay, that's the first part. The second part that I do is I go through my budget. So every month I have what I call the 4 walls that I budget for, and then I expand on that, like my savings and my investments. So that's the first half, is that yearly calendar that kind of helps me plan long-term things that I'm going to need to save for. And then the second half is my monthly budget. So there's a skeleton, you could call it, for my monthly budget, which is basically comprised of the 4 walls. And then from there, I expand on saving and investing. That's the basic structure of my budget. And then from there, I'll branch out on anything else I need to buy or save for that month from that paycheck, things like that. So I'll show you what I mean. So the second part is really a deep dive on the monthly expenses. So you've really got to be honest with yourself, and it can be fun because you're planning your future and you're planning where your money's going to be, what you want to pay off, what you want to save for, things like that. So get comfortable and, get a glass of wine, get some coffee, get some water, and just really take the time, sit down with your partner and really go through each item that you need to, put money toward every month, every paycheck. And the purpose of this is really to determine if, number one, if the budget you have in place is really working. Like, are you budgeting enough for gas and groceries? Do you need to increase it or decrease it? Or if you don't have a budget in place, this is opportunity for you to start fresh, put everything in writing, get out your bills, see who you owe money to, how much it is. If you're debt-free, awesome. Determine what your money goals are for that year that's coming up. Do you need to save for your kids' college? But just really focus on real numbers. And the budget I'm going to show you is for the whole month. And then, as I mentioned before, as I get paid, I get 2 paychecks a month and I budget each paycheck. I break those paychecks down. So for the purposes of this video and for my annual budget review, this is how I broke everything down. I'll show you what I mean. So like I mentioned before, my rent is the biggest money suck of all my bills, and I can't really control how much my rent is every month, right? But what's included in my rent is water and trash pickup. I can't cancel the trash pickup thing. And for the water, I can control how much water consumption I use. The only way this will go lower is if I use less water every month. But right now I spend about $1,600 a month for rent with water and trash included. That also includes like $40 for Titan. I have to pay $40 a month rent for him, but he is not going anywhere. So that's really the number I'm kind of stuck with going into the new year. So this is the landline phone for my house in Alabama. Currently, my mom's the only one living in that house, so this cost has been consistent. It has been like $90, but that was when there was like long distance calls being made and stuff like that, but that hasn't happened in several months. So I'm comfortable with keeping this at this amount going into the new year, budgeting that amount for the landline phone. Okay, here's the first thing I'm able to change and modify going into the new year is the amount of money I spend on groceries. So all of these numbers are for the whole month. So I was budgeting $150 a paycheck, so $300 a month on groceries, and that includes toiletries and trash bags, stuff like that. But with a baby on the way, I definitely think I need to bump that up a little bit to account for things like diapers, not clothes and bottles and stuff. Right now, I'm not planning on needing formula right away. I know formula is really expensive. I do have a few sample things of formula just in case I need it in the beginning, but right now that increase is basically just for baby diapers and stuff like that. So if I need to modify it, I will, but right now I definitely know I will need to look at increasing for diaper purchases. Next is my Roth IRA. So the max I can contribute every year is $6,000 by April 15th, I believe it is. And that's only $500 a month. So I really think I can dedicate this amount of money every month to that. Before, I guess I just didn't realize it was only $250 a paycheck, which is a lot of money, but not as much as I thought it was. Just to reach the $6,000 just seemed like a lot of money. And I was just throwing whatever I could at it every paycheck. But if I break it down, and if I can contribute more than this for that paycheck, then that'll just make it easier for me to meet my goal toward the end of the year. But right now, I'm going to budget $500 a month for Roth IRA contribution. So gas. I was budgeting $120 a month for my gas, and that just barely got me from home to work and back for the 2-week period. And if I had to go to the hospital for a baby checkup, that's like 40 minutes away one way. So I definitely was breaking that if I had to go to the hospital. So going forward into the new year, I'm going to increase it from $120 to $150 to account for that and inflation, because gas is crazy expensive right now. Also, I get paid twice a month. I get paid the duty day or work day before the 1st and the work day before the 15th. So it's not exactly a specific day every month. It just depends on if the 1st or 15th falls on a holiday or a weekend. So some paychecks, I'll have to go more than 2 weeks for my next paycheck, depending on how everything falls. So you can see here in January, like I'll get paid on the 13th. I'll get paid here, but I'll have to wait more than 2 weeks till my next paycheck. Just how that cycle worked. So because of that, I'm going to increase this, and I'll talk about my budget buffer in a minute. It's kind of like what that's for as well. Next is my insurance. So this covers house insurance for the house in Alabama. It covers my renter's insurance for the apartment here in Colorado. It also covers my 2005 Dave Ramsey car, which is a Toyota, and it covers my Lexus that is in kind of storage mode in Alabama. USAA wrapped all those things into one little neat package for me. I'm sure it was complicated and confusing and a pain for them to do it, but they did it, and that's how much it is. And the house is paid for. My parents paid it off So that's awesome. And because it's paid off, USAA was like, you don't really need to insure it. And I was like, but I want to, especially with my mom living there. So it's covered. Okay, next is my cell phone. The cell phone is actually paid for. So this amount is for the monthly data plan. And I figured out this number a couple years ago when I was going through my debt-free journey. But I have T-Mobile right now, and I was looking at different phone plans and different phone companies. And I was looking at Cricket Wireless, which I think is owned by AT&T. But the lowest they could go is also $55 for what I needed. So that number really isn't budging unless I can think of or find a cheaper unlimited cell phone data plan, basically. So keeping the number for cell phone. Next is my electric bill. So the most it's ever been is around $80. The cheapest it's ever been is about $56. So, and this also includes like hot water heater or gas heater, whatever. So what I can do to watch this, and when I had the cheapest it's ever been, I was like out of town for a week. So that definitely contributed to the cheaper cost. So obviously just watching power consumption and those long hot baths. But that's, I gotta be honest, right? So if I'm looking at a high electric bill one month, that's how much, I'm gonna be looking at. Okay, so next is my internet. Currently, I'm paying $65 a month, and I was looking on their website and my account and everything, and I can get a lower plan for $45 a month. So that's what I'm gonna do going into the new year, is getting that cheaper internet plan. With a baby on the way and saving for my sister's wedding, it kind of put me back in this debt-free payoff kind of mindset, and I don't mind it. It really kind of woke me up and made me pay attention to the numbers again, like an attitude adjustment. So I really considered canceling my internet, especially with really good cell phone service and internet LTE data, whatever in my area is really good. So I did consider that, but for now I'm gonna keep it, especially with my mom coming. She'll just be bored out of her mind, and so will I probably if we don't have that, especially with a newborn baby around. So for now, keeping it, gonna reduce it to $45 a month and go from there. And like, I'm a gamer, but I don't play the online games. Like, I'll play Skyrim and Oblivion, but I won't play it in live online mode, if you know what I mean. So I don't need the most expensive internet package. I just need to maybe stream some of my sister's Netflix or my Amazon Prime Video. But I feel like the high-speed internet is really for those gamers, and I don't fall into that category necessarily, so I'll survive. So for my buffer, I budget $40 a month, $20 a paycheck. So I'll keep that for now, the $40. Okay, so the emergency fund. For my emergency fund, I want to have $10,000 in there. I had it at $5,000, and then Titan had to go to the vet and get some teeth pulled, which ended up being more than I anticipated and what they quoted me. So that ended up being $1,300. So I had to pull from my emergency fund. So right now my emergency fund is only at $4,200. So I definitely want to dedicate a specific amount for that. And I'm still going to be doing emergency fund and Roth IRA contribution at the same time. Dave Ramsey says to do one at a time, and I do agree. So if I only had $1,000 in there, I wouldn't be contributing to my IRA because $1,000 is just way too low. But right now I feel like I'm in a comfortable spot to be doing both at the same time. If I get any extra money for the month, it'll be going to emergency fund. If I didn't have a steady job, I would be doing one at a time, emergency fund. If you didn't know, I'm active duty military. I'm a paralegal, so it's a reliable job. My job isn't just going to end one day out of nowhere. That's what I mean. So I'm comfortable with doing both at the same time at this moment for my particular situation. Next, I have the lifestyle, and this is basically anything Titan related, so vet, grooming, anything like that. It also includes entertainment. So, eating out, going to the movies, if I want to get my hair done, stuff like that. Anything that I could cut if I needed to and put it to an emergency or something, that's kind of what it's there for. Next is my long-term saving. So I'm budgeting $400 for that. And I did have sinking funds with my Navy Federal Credit Union account. And I had like, I don't know, maybe 8 separate checking accounts for sinking funds, so I could separate the amount of money into categories. But going forward, I'm just going to have one lump long-term cash savings account. So it's not an emergency fund and it's not for my investments. This is things for like home construction projects for the house in Alabama, like new flooring and stuff. This is also for travel that I need to save for. This is also for the car repair replace fund. Things that I need to save for long term that I know is coming. It's not an emergency, but I need to save for, if that makes sense. So I don't want to put it in investment because I'm going to need to liquidate that money within the next 5 years or so. So I need to be able to access it. So that's why it's not going into a Roth IRA. So that is my structure, what it's going to look like every month. And from there, I'll add to it. So if I need to order some stuff on Amazon for the baby, or birthdays, or holidays, or office stuff, I'll just have to add on to it from there. So now I'll show you some of the things that are going to be happening throughout the year that I'm going to need to add into the month as applicable, like as it comes up. So I'll show you what I mean. So Titan Grooming. This will come out of my lifestyle fund, but if for some reason I don't have the money for that in that fund, it's going to be about $50 every 6 weeks. So I just want to keep that in mind when I'm doing my monthly budgets. His next grooming appointment is on January 8th. Next is my oil change, currently just for the Toyota. It's about $40 and I'll get that done every 3 months. Next oil change is due in February. And after my sister's wedding in May, I'm going to pay to have my Lexus shipped to me from Alabama to Colorado. It's going to be about $700. So that'll be another thing I'll have to start budgeting and saving for. The last thing I've got coming up this year that I'm going to need to keep in mind are my new car tags. So I've got 2 vehicles, the Toyota and the Lexus. For the Toyota, I'm going to need a new tag in February. And for the Lexus, I'm going to need a new tag in August. And the reason I got this figure $90 is because it's going to cost about $70 for me to get a 3-year tag for the Lexus. So I'm going to try and also get a 3-year tag for the Toyota. And the Toyota is really inexpensive. The Toyota is registered in Alabama and the Lexus is registered in Florida, and I'm in Colorado. So I'll see what I can do. That's why I want to get it for like 3 years at a time if I can, but they are both due this year. And lastly, I'll show y'all what I got coming up for the wedding that I'm budgeting for also. So I owe $435 more for the room in Cancun, and then that'll be done and taken care of. My sister, the bride, she found a great website for dresses, and they have a maternity collection, and I'll still have like somewhat of a postpartum baby bump. So I found a good dress for about $70, and then with shipping and everything it was $88. So when it gets here I can have it tailored in time for the wedding. The wedding, I'm going to be gone a little less than 2 weeks, but while I'm gone, Titan is going to be at Camp Bow Wow, not sponsored, but I like them because they have live webcams, so I can see him anytime on, through their app, except when they're sleeping. And they can go inside, outside whenever they want, and they separate the big dogs from the little dogs because Titan has a bit of an attitude. So he'll want to like referee and play with the big dogs, but he doesn't want anyone to touch him, but he wants to be part of it. It's weird. So thankfully they separate the big dogs and the little dogs. And that's how much I'm budgeting for that. And then left, I have about $500 that I need to spend on flights, between Colorado to Dallas, hanging out with my sister for a few days. Then we're all going from Dallas to Cancun and then back to Colorado. So the flights aren't bad right now. So I'm saving that much for flights. The last thing that I don't know how much it's going to be yet is childcare for when I go back to work. And I'll go back to work, it depends when the baby's due or comes. but I'll have to go back to work around May or probably June-ish. So depending on how much childcare is going to be, half of that. The military provides a lot for us, and I'm thankful, but childcare, even on the installation on the base, it isn't free. So I'm going to have to calculate that in once I know what that number is going to be. All right, guys, so this was my annual budget review, and these are my goals and my plans for the next year coming up, and I might have to adjust it as the year goes on, but this is a template and a guide for me to know where my money's going and what my goals are. So, it'll make my dreams and my money goals that much more realistic because I'm putting it in writing. So it's doable. You can do it. It's just addition and subtraction and, planning ahead. Let me know if you do this, if you have like an annual budget review or goals for the new year. And let me know what you think down below if you have any questions. And I'll see you guys next time.